Like,
Actually, on Wildhead, I'm pretty sure
that
it's
is
on my
an
BIS list.
that is an insane impression, Dratnos. But yeah, I feel like it's just obvious. Like, I think if people knew how much percentage health you lost, and it wasn't just like, oh well, you lose some stamina,
And you don't even gain much damage, really. You gain like nothing.
I also
I
go ahead. Sorry.
was playing with a hunter that had 2% versatility and Sarkareth. A fucking hunter, man.
Hello everyone, Voodoo here, and as you probably figured out from that little clip at the intro, today we're talking about the Sark Cloak. Now, Sark Cloak is one of those items that is incredibly divisive, as you've probably heard or seen about, and there's a lot of people wondering, is it actually good? Should I use it? Is it bait? Should I not use it? Yada, yada, yada. So in today's video, we're going to break it down, talk about Sark Cloak, what it is, what its downsides are, and if it's actually worth it in either Raid or Mythic Plus. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And out of the way, let's get into it. I guess first things first is just like, what is Sark Cloak? Sark Cloak, otherwise known as a Voice of the Silent Star, is a very rare cloak that drops from Sarkareth, the final boss of the Abyss Shadow Crucible raid. It's a cloak, has critical strike and haste, and it's an on-equip with whenever your allies take damage, the voice has a chance to beckon you. Upon hearing its call 10 times, you fully submit to its influence. You steal stats from 4 nearest allies, giving you that much, plus about like 2,000. This is obviously not the highest level you can get it at, but plus that much of your highest secondary stat for 8 seconds. So it's basically a cloak with a free kind of cantrip proc that steals stats from allies and gives you a ton of stats whenever it procs. You do need allies to take damage. It's much better in Raid than it is in Mythic Plus. But it is just free damage on a cloak, and it does come at higher eye level. 457 back then was about 7 eye levels higher than the highest eye level, so it comes basically higher than anything else can. So, you know, pretty good there. The downside, however, and you might not have noticed this, but if you look up at the stat pane, see it has agility, critical strike, haste, and armor. What you might miss is that it doesn't actually have stamina. See on my cloak on the right, draped with the Drakthir Trials, what I have equipped right now. It gives me agility, stamina, and then 2 secondaries. So as a trade-off for having this effect, you do lose a bunch of stamina, roughly 3,500 stamina, which is a sizable amount. So that's kind of where the discussion comes in on Sark Cloak, where is it worth it to lose this much stamina for this effect? So for that to talk about, I guess we should first look at how strong is it really? So let's hop over to some sims and take a look there at like a hypothetical of it. All right, so here we are at the sims, and this is just my character here with, you know, the Boolean thing and single target. Now, I do have a pretty low eye level weapon that's being fixed, whatever. But we can see down here for raid vendors, it is my highest upgrade possible at a 535. So you see here, you get 175 times 4 plus like 2,600 stats. You roughly get around 3,000 of your highest secondary stat for 8 seconds whenever this procs. 535, of course, too. And pretty good stats, crit haste. But this is roughly 5,000 DPS for me over my versatility mastery cloak. So it is definitely a DPS increase. Now, if we look over at like a gear compare, this is just straight up it for that. Now, I think I changed some things around, but 5,000 DPS. And here is a quick sim. So we'll look at the proc here. It's not very high uptime, 6.2%. So it's not like a very high uptime proc, which is why a lot of that questions come in. See here on a 5-minute sim, it comes up twice. Voice beckons doesn't really do anything. Look down at this actual sim here. It procs roughly every 2 minutes. Here we are at like 2:12 into the fight, and that's around when it procs. So it's actually pretty good for 2-minute classes because it lines up pretty much equally to whenever that procs. Obviously, the meta here, the first proc isn't until 11 seconds in. Hard to really accurately model this thing because it's, you know, based on your allies taking damage, but the proc basically comes up around the 2-minute mark here. And this sim truncates at about 4.5 right before it would actually proc. So we're not getting full value in this sim, but generally speaking, you can assume it's going to happen every 2 seconds, 2 seconds 15, or sorry, 2 minutes, 2 minutes 15 seconds and stuff like that. So pretty bad uptime, but a pretty high proc. You'll get it 2 to 3 times a fight. So is it actually worth it? So we're gonna hop back to just ye old WoW here, and let's take a look at what happens if I remove my cloak. So removing my cloak basically is the same as equipping Sark Cloak, because that's how much stamina you lose. So if I take this off, put it in my bag, we go down to 1.3 million HP, and obviously it truncates it because I have I'm in like the millions. But we re-equip it and go up to 1.4 million. So it's roughly 100,000 HP. I could probably do the stamina calculations. We're at 61,000 stamina. Oh, here we go. Increase health by 1.288 million. And we go here and increase health by 1.362. So it's like I don't want to do the math off the top of my head. It's like 80,000 stamina, I think, something like that, somewhere in that ballpark, which is sizable. That's actually like a lot of HP. 80,000 HP is nothing to scoff at. That can help you live things, help you survive things. So the real question is like, is it worth it to have that proc? As we look back at these sims here, we can see that the proc itself is only like 5,000 DPS, right? More or less 5,000 DPS. Boom, boom. But again, if we go back into raid or just real life here, we lose about 80,000 stamina when we equip it. So the moral of the story here is that, realistically speaking, in raid, I would say, yeah, it's worth it. In raid, generally speaking, you're not really going to be in that much danger of dying to it. 80,000 stamina is like a sizable amount, but in a raid where you have 4 healers, you'll know when things are happening, you can plan defensives, you can plan all that stuff out, and frankly, these raids this season are very undertuned. You know, you can have raids with like 80,000, or not 80,000, 80% blue silken lining uptime or something like that, which is like a crazy amount, right? Like 80% blue silken lining is really high. I would say it's worth it because you do get extra damage, parsing and all that stuff. No one's really progging raid anymore these days. If you are progging something in raid, good luck for you, I guess, then it probably isn't worth it. But because Faded is basically just a farm season for raids, at least, I would say 100% it's worth it. Try and grab one with bullion, which is, you know, pretty good for yourself. Now, Mythic Plus, if you are pushing keys that are above your comfort level, right, you're trying to go higher than you normally go, I would say it's not worth it. Keys this season are in such a place where they are more based around how you can survive something rather than the damage you do. So in a dungeon scenario, right, that stamina is going to be much more impactful. The buff is going to stack up a lot slower because you only have 4 allies to get damage instead of 19. And on top of that, you're also only going to, you know, waste a lot of that proc, right? Like if it procs at the end of a pack, boom, you just wasted your proc. Now it could proc at the start of a pack and be very useful, but at the same time, it could also proc when it's not very useful at the end of a pack or whenever all your damage has happened, stuff like that. Whereas in a raid, whenever it procs, you will always be doing damage. You'll kind of know when it happens. You're in combat the whole time, very consistent. So if you're in dungeons, probably not worth it. If you're doing like meme low keys and you're not pushing it all, you can wear it. It doesn't really matter. But if you're trying to push keys, generally I would stay away from it and grab the stamina. Raid, you can take it. Now there is one more thing. So the Sark Cloak is actually catalyzable. So you can basically take it. So I don't have one, but again, you can take your cloak, put it in here, and you can catalyze it into whatever cloak fits your set. Now I don't know, for Havoc it's a haste verse cloak, or for Vengeance I guess, which is actually pretty good for Vengeance. For like any other spec, I don't know, you have to look if you're someone watching this video and you're not a Havoc main. But that's actually pretty good because the cloak does drop at 535, right? Like if you look back in this thing here, it's not awakened obviously, but it's 457, which is the equivalent to 435 in today's eye level. So if you actually get this to drop, you can catalyze it and you'll have a 435 cloak, which will be very good in Mythic Plus because it's more stats, it's more stamina, it's more agility. It's all the upside of a high level cloak, except you're trading that passive back for some more stats, which I think is very, very good. Now, the one weird thing is that you actually can't catalyze the cloak you get from bullions because there's a tag missing on the item that allows it to be kind of treated as a season 4 item. Same bug that kind of happened with the legendary weapons where we couldn't really upgrade them. So in order to catalyze it, you do need to get one from Vault or from Raid. So good luck with that, I guess. Try not to tell people that, I don't know, just good luck with that. So long story short, TLDR, basically, it's a very strong buff. It's kind of a strong proc. It's better than a normal cloak in raid where you can get that buff all the time. The stamina offset isn't that big of a deal because again, you have a lot of other healers, you know when damage is happening, not too big of a deal. And it procs more oftenly and more reliably, and you'll always get used to it. In dungeons, doesn't proc as often, doesn't proc as reliably. You're very likely to waste the proc, and in dungeons, living with that stamina is much more important than the damage the cloak brings. However, you can actually get a 535 cloak from dungeon or from raid or vault and catalyze it into a 535 cloak with stamina. Doesn't work with the bullion one for whatever reason. Maybe that get fixed, but pretty good. So there you go. That's kind of the shakedown, the shimmy, the lowdown on Voice of the Silent Star. Good luck in all your keys and dungeons and all that, Mythic Plus or Mythic Raid or whatever you're doing this season. And yeah, there you have it. So like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, and I will see you guys next time. Peace. A big thank you to all of my channel members. Thank you Sky Elk, Andrew Keenel, 100,001 Zans, Brad Wisniak, Belfa, Darren Dark Terror, and Magic Man 133. Thank you all so much. If you want to help support me and help fund the channels and the videos, follow the link in the description to become a channel member and get some cool perks in the process. Again, thank you all so much. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.